Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, and perhaps even good evening. Thank you so much for dropping by and joining us on the first ever official NFP Non-Fungible People stream here on the Daz channel. We're currently streaming to 5 destinations, which is a bit of technical overhead, but I'm glad it's working out so well. Fingers crossed, touch wood. Hope it's going to stay that way. It is wonderful to see you all. Today, I'm going to show you how we can make use of the 3D assets that you get if you are one of the lucky people who are in the possession of one of Daz's NFPs, the Non-Fungible People. It's their first NFT project of 8,888 female and non-binary characters that are not just a collection of pictures. The twist is, and this is a first, that they also contain the 3D assets with which the picture was made. So that's the twist of it, and we've been very fortunate enough that the collection is sold out. If you do want to buy any, you can now buy them from third-party marketplaces like Rarible and OpenSea. But I'm in the fortunate position that I have 6 of them, and I was very excited to get my hands on the 3D files and see how did they do it. It is, of course, all related to Daz Studio, with which the NFTs or NFPs are created, and with not so much a secret, but with a special dashboard, we can go in and download the 3D files, load the full avatar in Daz Studio, and then do things with them. So we can pose them, we can dress them up, we can give them different hair, different expressions, and so forth. And that is really what makes this so cool. So it sets it apart from other NFT collections that give you a profile picture and the unique authenticity of that one profile picture. With Daz, you get the 3D assets and you get to animate your character if you wish. So you can do all kinds of things with it. And that's really what the stream is all about, that we want to delve in and see, well, how does it work under the hood? And it is wonderful that you can join me for this. Here is that NFP website, so nfp.daz3d.com. This is where you get the dashboard. This is kind of a separate website to the Daz 3D website. It's a subdomain here. And I'm going to go and put my little orange highlight cursor on here so that while I point my cursor, you can actually see what I'm doing. So nice to see you all. You can make your own NFP you can make your own figure in Daz Studio. Well happy, that was always possible, and this is kind of why we already know so much about it, and I will show you how to do this today as well, just as an aside there. So Daz 3D, the company, is literally, let me go and show you that website just so that we're on the same page here. This is the front page of Daz 3D, and they make a software called Daz Studio. They also invite you to participate in a live stream today, which is nice. So they make a software called Daz Studio, and that is the key ingredient that will allow us to display Daz content inside an application, which is Daz Studio, completely free to download. They make assets available that can also be used with Daz Studio completely free, namely the Genesis Starter Essentials. And once you install those two, you can go and buy add-on content from the Daz store, namely here from the shop. If we just look at the front page here, there's sales on all the time. There's new products coming out all the time, and they focus on custom characters as well as clothing, as well as hair, as well as expressions, and all kinds of other things, including poses and animations. You can pick up some freebies. You can pick up things for free here for a heavy discount, and these are kind of the newest items here. Anything and everything that you buy from Daz, from the shop, will work inside Daz Studio. So the way the NFPs work is that they are custom created custom characters with outfits and clothing, with outfits and expressions and hair, and you will be able to use them inside Daz Studio. So normally what happens is that you go and open Daz Studio and then go and load your characters. Whoops, that is not what we want to see. Sorry about that. Let's go and disconnect from here. I think I have it on the, oh, here it is. I should really put that on the other desktop. No, not rename. Move to desktop 1. That's where I wanted it. There we go. So usually you load up a figure and then you put clothing on them, and then you do all this manually. And that then becomes your own character that you want to pose and put an expression on. You want to light them, and then you want to create a picture out of them, create like an animation or a picture out of them. I've done this many times on the Daz channel. If you want to have a look, then go have a look at the previous streams. One of my avatars looks like this. So this is the first animation that I've made with them. So it's not so much an animation, it's just a turntable. It's them in a standing up position. But as you can see this here, like this picture, that's kind of the profile picture that we see. But really the character is a full body character that is fully posable, and it can wear different hairs, different outfits, and so forth. So, you know, that's the way to do it. There is really no best character book here. There is a base figure, and from it you derive different shapes, and that will then turn your character into different types of character. So in different nose shape, different, you know, different head shape, and so forth. So exciting stuff. So if you are interested in getting more out of Daz Studio, getting started with Daz Studio, I recommend you watch I think 2 streams ago, we had something called the Bootcamp episode. And that is a real good introduction to Daz Studio if you want to have a look under the hood and play around and try your hand at making your own avatars like this. That's not what today is about. Today is about how do we log into this dashboard, download the 3D files and install them into Daz Studio. So that happens by, this is literally like this is the first hurdle I came across. You go to nfp.daz3d.com and then you head over to the dashboard here, and then you see something like this. And I was a little bit confused about this when I got started, because I thought my wallet is connected. Well, how do I now log in? That pink button seems to be grayed out and I can't really click it, and what's going on? Turns out all we need to do is we need to log in to our wallet provider. So in my case, it's MetaMask, and I have this little icon up here. So if I go and click that, then the MetaMask extension in my browser, look at that little fox. I always love the little fox. He follows my cursor around. With that extension, I have to go and essentially log in. And once I've done that, show me how much money I have, which is awesome. Once I've done that, I should be able to go and click the pink button now, which means I can go to my NFP dashboard. This is the current collection here, the NFPs, Non-Fungible People. And at the bottom here, I can see all the ones that are connected to my wallet. So if you have different ones in different wallets, you have to log out and log in with a different wallet to be able to see them. So each of these represents a different character. They don't really have names, they only have numbers here. I'm going to go and click this last one here because that's the one that you've seen in the beginning, and that is NFP 6072. I can see the contract on Etherscan over here, or I can see this item on Rarible or OpenSea over here. So if I go to that, then you go to the actual listing there. So currently, as I said, the collection is sold out, but you will be able to buy these NFPs from other sellers who have bought them, who are now flipping them, and maybe you'll find one that is for sale. If you do buy one, 3D assets come with it. So if I go and select this one here, then if I go and select this one here under download, I can go and see 2 options here. One is download all sizes of your NFP profile picture. And these are literally just this image in different sizes. So if you wanted to represent yourself as this exact image, then you can go and download these. Download verification happens, and there it is. Gets downloaded. If I go and open that, these are literally only the images. So if I go and peek inside, I can see several sizes from small 128 by 128 all the way up to 3000 by 3000. So that's 11 megabytes in size. Very high resolution render that is. And this has all been done in Daz Studio. There it is. Very cool. But that's just the flat image. So we knew we're going to get that because that's existent in every NFT collection, I suppose. So what we are really interested in is these things here, the download your 3D models, assets, and scene files. It gives you a link to the Daz Studio website or the Daz 3D website, in which once you sign up, you'll be able to download Daz Studio and get started with it. I'm going to download these ones here. And that is this current avatar. I want to install literally all of them. So if I want to go back, I'll go to my collection here, NFP, I thought. Maybe not. I'll just go back to the dashboard, I guess. And then I'll go and download a couple of others here, because we can download them, we can install them one by one, or we can install multiple at the same time. So maybe I'll use this one as well. Once again, head over to download the 3D files. There we go. Now these two, and I'll just show you the two maybe. I'm going to go and render animations of all of them. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you'll probably see them there. If I'm going to go and take these two as examples, I can show you how to install them now in Daz Studio so that we can make them work. So let me go and open my downloads folder. And I think the first thing I do need to do, just so that this is something that shouldn't happen when you do it, I need to take the number 1 in the brackets out at the end here, because I think I had downloaded these before. Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to go and download a couple of others. I think she had issues. I'm so sorry that I have to bring that up, but there is, because it's a brand new project, some of the 3D files had issues, and I think she was one that had major issues with me. The Daz are currently fixing it, but I can't actually use them for this demo. I'm so sorry. I'm just seeing this from the number here. I'm going to download her now. That's okay. So I've downloaded these before during testing, which is why my downloads have this in brackets number 1 at the end. And it's kind of important that that doesn't happen, because I'll go and just copy them out here. I'll cut them out and put them just on my desktop here for now, because I need to change the number 1 at the end. That needs to move away. Actually, I'll do that in a minute. I'll go and take these files, just cut them out here, and go into a special location on my computer. So the easiest way to install these things is with something called Install Manager. And that is a little application, that's a helper application with which you would have installed Daz Studio already. This is this thing here. And once I'm logged in, I'll be able to see a long list of items I own from the Daz store. Whenever you buy something, it'll show up in this list, and then you can go and tick it and essentially just click this green button at the bottom, and that'll install your item so that you can use it with and inside Daz Studio. But we can also use the system to install our NFPs, and that's what I'm going to show you now. So the Install Manager uses a special directory to find what files have been downloaded and can be installed. So it uses that directory. And it is by default in Users on Windows under Public Documents. In it, we have a folder called Daz 3D. And in here, we have an Install Manager folder in which we have a folder called Downloads. I'm going to show you this again in a moment. These files here, they're in there, they shouldn't be in there. There might be files in here, it might be empty, it kind of depends, but this is the directory into which you need to copy the downloaded files that you had. So once again, if you go to your C drive and then you head over to Users, then we head over to Public, that's where it is by default. Then we go into Public Documents, and in here we have a Daz 3D folder. In here we have an Install Manager folder, and in here we have a Downloads folder. And in here is where I'm going to go and copy my downloaded files. So I'm just going to go and paste them in here. And in an ideal world, Install Manager would now go and pick them up, no problem. But because I've downloaded the files already, Windows has put a number 1 in brackets at the end, and that doesn't match the manifest file that is inside there. So if I go to ready to install now, I can hit this little refresh button, and in an ideal world I should see my NFP files, but you can see it's not quite happening. So the reason for that is that Windows has appended this number 1 there. So in case that happens to you, just make sure that number 1 goes away. I'll just go and amend that manually. So the 1 in brackets, that's literally just from the Windows. So I'll go and make sure that doesn't happen. Thought I cleared out my downloads directory, but I guess I didn't. So now this is what it will look like if you download them. So if I go back to my Install Manager and hit that little refresh button now, then I should see 3 NFP files to be installed. There we go. NFP 4126, 0610, and 6072. Does that make sense so far? It is, yes, X201. I can totally agree with that. There are 2 ways to get Daz Studio installed. One is Daz Central and one is Install Manager. And I greatly prefer Install Manager. It's a much simpler tool. It's been around for a long time and it works extremely reliable. What makes Install Manager good is that you can install content with it, but you can also uninstall content with it. So if you want to ever get rid of something, you don't have to manually find where the files are. You can just go and get rid of it this way. Dim all the way for Camilla as well. I like it. I like it. I like that we're all in this one camp. That is quite cool. So if I wanted to install my avatars now. I can just literally go and click this and hit Start Queue. But I don't quite want to do that because I'm one of those guys who would like to have things in separate libraries. So if I show you this inside Daz Studio in my content library here, I do have my Daz Studio formats here. I've got the Daz 3D library here. That's the regular library for all the default content. But I've made myself two others. I've got one for characters and I've got one for outfits. And I've just before the stream, I've unmapped a lot that would have been just, confusing because whenever I work on a project, I keep it separate to a separate library. That makes my working life just so much easier. So I'm going to do the same thing with the NFP installation. And for that, I need an empty folder. Let's go and make one. I'm going to say, I'll just stick in the public directory here. We get a little bit of more practice with that. Users public documents. That's where all the action happens. And I might just put it into here, into public documents. I'm going to go and create myself a new folder called NFPs. And there's nothing special about this folder. You just need to know where it is. And preferably don't put it on the desktop because, that gets cleared out and cluttered up quite a lot. So just remember where that is on the users, public documents. You can put it anywhere you like, maybe Dropbox, maybe OneDrive, really doesn't matter. Your favorite external hard drive doesn't matter. So I'm going to put it in public documents. So in Daz Studio then, I'm going to go and map this as a separate library, much like these things here. And there's several ways to do that. The easiest one is to click the top icon here that's on the content library, Daz Studio formats, right click and say add a base directory. That's not that difficult. Let's do that. So I'm going to go and find my things again. That is under users, public documents, and there's NFPs. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to select this folder, and now Daz Studio kind of collapses this bit at the top here. And now I can see I've got a folder here, which is empty. It's kind of what I've expected. That's all good. Currently, there's nothing in it. So we need to tell Install Manager about the same directory, then select it, and then let Install Manager put everything in there. You can just put it into the regular library. That is also possible. But, I just wanted to show you that extra mile tip here. So to convince Install Manager to do this, there's this thing at the bottom that says Show Details. So go and open that up. This is on the Ready to Install tab now. This is where your NFP files should show up. This here is the current folder that I'm using that I can tell Install Manager to put something in. So I've got the default library here, then I've got characters, I've got outfits, and I've got one extra here. You have to map these folders, one for Install Manager, and the same folder also needs to go into Daz Studio. So both applications need to see that folder for the installation to work properly. I'll go and click this icon here, this little gear icon, and this is where I can now go and add another installation path. That's on the installation tab here. With the little plus icon, I'll head over and call it something descriptive, maybe NFPs perhaps, and then I'll go and navigate to the path that I've just shown you there. So in my case, that was C drive, users, public documents, and here's NFP. So I'll go select that and select folder, and then I'll hit accept. And then I know that there's an extra folder in town, which is awesome now. I can go and hit accept here. And now I can go and select that from this drop-down menu. And this is the folder into which Install Manager is going to put whatever happens, whatever's selected up here when I hit start the queue. And this is what I'm going to do. So with that new folder that's mapped both in Install Manager and Daz Studio, and with my product selected here, I'll hit start the queue and let Install Manager do its thing. Does that make sense so far? I hope it does. By the way, while it's working, I just wanted to introduce my moderators to you, 20 minutes late. Well done, Jay. So there is Brian, aka Zero Calvin. He is a general 3D all-rounder. He also has his own YouTube channel. There's Dragonate, aka Nate. He is our resident NFT expert. If you have any NFT-related questions, feel free to @Dragonate. He will be more than happy to help you. And there's also Julia. She's also becoming a 3D all-rounder, and it's wonderful to have you guys take care of the various platforms that we're streaming to. Nate is looking after Twitch today, which is great. Brian's looking after YouTube, and Julia's looking after Facebook. With this being empty, this means that Install Manager was successful. If I go to installed, I will see that these 3 products have been installed. So it works a bit like a product, but it contains just much more than what we're used to from a product. I'll go and minimize this and go and see in my Daz Studio, I don't see anything showing up in here. And that's because Daz Studio just needs to refresh this. So if you go into that folder, you just go into this gray place here, into where there's basically nothing, and you right click and say refresh. And then seconds later, we can see that there's a little disclosure triangle, and that means there's now something I can open. And this now follows the regular 3D content library structure that we already know from Daz Studio. So in this here, we have people, then we have Taffy NFPs rather, and these are now my 3 NFPs that I can download, or I can load into Daz Studio. They're all actors, but they come with so much more. So they don't just come with the figure, they also come with lighting. So I don't have really anything in my scene. I'm just going to go and start with a new scene, because this was just, to show you something. I'll go and create a brand new scene and start essentially from scratch. Right, that's another very good point. Thank you, Julia. If you have questions that I don't see in the chat, if I overlook it, or if I get busy, or if chat whizzes by or whatever, my moderators will be kind enough to fish them out, and at the end we're going to have a bit of time to go through questions. So if it's something I can answer, then I will. If it's something that I cannot answer, then I will let you know. Let's start with this avatar, since we've seen her in the beginning. She's an actor, so if I go and double click her, then she'll go and load in. This is going to take a little bit of time because, yeah, the NFPs, I've noticed that the NFPs are they're kind of performance hogs. So they work much slower than regular figures. Sometimes you might see something like these little error messages here. If you do, get in touch with the Daz team and they will go and fix it for you. So this, I've put my ticket in, this is being fixed. This is not something we're going to see, but there's something on the backpack here that has a density texture that that isn't included with the product. It was an oversight, so they're going to go and fix it. So I'm going to go say, stop asking. But if you do see anything and that's visually disturbing, like, face texture missing, or, a full item of clothing missing, and you get lots of error messages, then please file a ticket on the NFP Discord server, and these guys will be able to help you out. There we go. There she is. We're going to see her in the filament preview. This is not the lighting we saw inside the ready-made picture. That's still being prepared here. There's a little yellow strap at the bottom. This is the final lighting. And this might not look exactly like the picture that you've seen, because that was an Iray render, and this is just a preview render with filament. So maybe it's a little bit hot. If you find that I'm using a filament draw options node here, that if you wanted to work in filament, that's the new PBR real-time preview draw style for the viewport, then you can go and create yourself one under create filament draw options node. I've already got one in, and then under parameters you can go and adjust the environment intensity scale. So mine is set to 6000. I think the default looks like that, which is kind of, wear sunglasses please, but you can go and just turn that down with this slider here. So 6000 is usually what works best, but it'll depend on the scene. So you can just make that a little bit darker so that your preview is a little bit easier on the eyes. And that's my full 3D avatar. Notice how this is a little bit different than the picture that you've seen. So the first thing that I want to bring your attention to is that there is a default camera included. So if you go and select that from up here, from this where it says perspective view, if you go and drop that down to default camera, then you will see the actual framing that the picture was made from. So I can also go and switch this on here, the aspect frame, and that'll be a square, and that'll now show me exactly the framing like I've seen it on the picture that I've seen on the NFT site. So if I were to go and render this out now with literally just, render, then the exact image would come out that you've already been given with the NFT project. Chances are you don't want to do that. Chances are you might want to try your hand at that, or try different resolutions out. But chances are you want to render something else. You want to render either a full body, or you want to render this with a different expression, or you maybe want to change the hair or the outfit of your character, and so forth. So we're going to go and take a look at that. Com, welcome. Good to see you. Com was my guest 2 weeks ago on the Daz Plus Premiere Pro Artist stream, and it was wonderful to have you. Good to see you. How can I bring my own textures to Daz? I'm having issues with PBR materials. That is a really deep question, Rox. Thank you. Let me think about that. It's not an easy way to answer that because it kind of depends on which stage of the 3D knowledge you are at. The easiest thing that I can suggest is try regular shaders. Look into UV mapping, and once you understand that, you'll be able to know where you need to put your own 2D textures so that they match an object. So let's go back to my perspective view. So the difference is that these are different cameras here in Daz Studio. So leave the default camera as it is, go back to your perspective view, and let's have a look at how we can go and maybe not put her in the A pose, go and put her into something else that is more like a, more like a regular standing pose. Currently she's just, standing there in a kind of a prep pose. And for a portrait that doesn't matter, but for like a full body thing, it does matter. So notice how this is grouped here. In the scene tab, we have a few additional options here. Filament draw options. Note this is our camera, tone mapper, environments option. Then we have a null object that is an invisible node in which we have our NFP character. And if you open her up, you can see that she has other items grouped to it. There's some that you can even drill down further, like the hip, and then there's the pelvis. Those are kind of the bone nodes that will make more sense when we start posing her. But you can also see that she has the Korean idol hair. That's the hair that she's wearing. You've got the Ronaldo boots. Those are the shoes, of course. And then we have the Ronaldo hoops. I think might that be the backpack? No, that's something else. That is something else here. You can always click that little eyeball icon to see what is removed here, to see what that is. Ronaldo jacket. I'm not going to take that off because that's going to get us into hot trouble here on YouTube. Then there is the Ronaldo skirt and the Ronaldo backpack. I think I can make that invisible. So that's this little guy here. This outfit is available from the Daz store. It's called the Ronaldo outfit, and there's a separate texture pack available. If you fancy this outfit, but you want to have a different kind of texture on it, then you can go and buy that and install it in Daz Studio, just like I've shown you, and then just hover over, just select any of these things like the jacket, and then you'll be able to take a material preset and apply that, and that changes the look and feel of the jacket. Very cool. We're going to have a look into that. Currently, let's have a look at the pose. So I'm going to select not the null, but I'm going to select my NFP character here. And then I'll go to my smart content where I have several poses installed. So I'm going to take this thing here, filter by content. And in it, I can find, various poses here. Maybe these are expressions. These are fresh beauty poses. Let me have a look at that. So this is the so-called A pose. But any Genesis 8 and 8.1 pose will work. So if you have something like this, you just double click that, wait a second, and then Daz Studio will apply a pose and move your avatar into a different position. That is pretty neat. And there's so many poses on the store. You can also, sometimes the outfit doesn't quite work when you pose the character, so careful with that. But in principle, it's kind of what we Daz artists spend a lot of time doing. Like, if you want to take a hand out, that you have to take the hand and move it away. So that's what the one-click poses sometimes do. But they are a good starting point to get you started with how you want your avatar to look. If you wanted to render her out in something like, she's going shopping now or whatever, then you can do that as a full body pose, which is kind of cool. Very neat. I'm going to do something else, actually. I'm going to go and press Ctrl Z several times so that I can go back to the A pose. And I'll show you another way of posing characters with a very, very cool product that I recommend you have a look at. And that is called the Pose Architect by 3D Universe. It doesn't apply poses with these little one-click icons. You use the parameters tab to get them done. There are pose controls here, and all these that are purple here, those are provided by the Pose Architect. I'm going to just search for one so that she's putting her arms down. It's called something called natural torso natural pose. If I dial that up to about 80%, then she goes and just stands there regularly, so it doesn't look like a prep pose anymore, and it looks better like as kind of just a regular standing pose. So 80%, I'll do that. There's also a little script that comes with it that I'll apply so that this turns into a real pose. I believe under utilities, I like one of these. There. I'll just apply that. It's just something, it's a Daz Studio specific thing. Once we do that, it's thank you for posting those links there, Brian. Now the pose dial is kind of rendered out, and it's now a proper pose here. So if we were to go and give her different expressions, a different expression, then this is not a neutral expression. This looks a little bit, this looks a little grumpy. Also, don't forget, when you switch this over from filament to a different draw style, your viewport might look completely different. So let me try the texture shaded view. Might take a little bit of time. She looks almost sleepy there. The colors are very different here in texture shaded. It's just a preview thing. If you want to see the real thing, head over to NVIDIA Iray. That will take a little bit of time depending on your graphics card, but it'll show you the highest possible resolution of your avatar. Oh, Welt Happy is bidding on NFP 6103. That is exciting. Good stuff. I'll keep my fingers crossed. There we go. So it's almost like what we've seen in the camera, which I can still switch back to. That'll show her from a different angle. And if I let this render, the exact picture comes out that we've seen here. But we can also see that if I go to the perspective view, I will see that there's a vignette applied and all that. I'll show you how to change all that. We can change the lighting and all that. So yeah, just as an aside, vignette here, that's a rendering effect. So this is really the real output that that my avatar is going to look like. So if I wanted to give her a different expression because she looks a little bit too unhappy, then I can do that with many of the products that are available. And 2 are currently on offer that'll work really well on all your NFPs. So no matter which NFP you have, they're going to work really well. They're specifically made for Genesis 8.1. They're by J Wolf. They're Daz originals. One is My Attitude Expressions, and the other one is Good Vibes Expressions. Let me start with that, Good Vibes Expressions. If I go there, we have all these one-click options available, and then once again, with your NFP selected, you can go and make her happier. Let's go and do that. Double-click that. It takes a moment. So the NFPs, they're a little bit very performance hungry, but there we go. Very different. Or maybe she's not quite that happy. Maybe she's, less happy. Then we can go and do this, or we can go and make her, medium happy. And if you get started with this, there's just so much to explore in Daz Studio and how this is all working under the hood. And this is basically what I've been studying for the last 15 years. Can you believe it? It's just, I would have never imagined that this would make a connection to something as cool as an NFP collection. I'm seriously chuffed. I'm currently looking into how to bring this into Unreal Engine so that we can make that work in real time. That'll be for a whole nother stream. And there's a lot to learn until I get there, but she discovered Install Manager X201. That's exactly right. So these are one clicks, and they're good. There's also a neutral one here at the bottom. If I double click that, then we go back to a kind of what we call a neutral face, like this. It doesn't look happy or grumpy. It just, it's just neutral. Let's try some of the others out here. The attitude expressions, same thing. So these are slightly different. She's got a little bit of attitude there. And expressions, I find they're just so important to get right, to really nail it in a portrait. Very cool. Some of these might be too much for you. Sometimes you might think, hey, this is actually quite cool. Today I want my avatar to look like this. But sometimes you think, hey, I wish there would be some way to tone this down. Can we maybe have something that's somewhere in between, perhaps this, which is fairly neutral, and that, which is fairly, whoops, not that, that. Come on. There and that. Maybe that's, maybe there should be kind of a middle ground. And thankfully there is. And this is a really cool thing that you can use in Daz Studio. I just want to throw it in there so that you've heard of it. It's called the Puppeteer tool. I have a tab open here. where Puppeteer is on right now, and that's the blend space that lets you blend between two or multiple states. So it's something, if you don't see it in your layout, head over to Window, Tabs, and at the bottom here you have somewhere Puppeteer. And then it pops up and you can dock it somewhere sensibly. With that, I can now go into this edit mode here and just click a point here, just make a yellow dot here and use a different expression, maybe this one here. Works with multiple expressions, so this one, say. I'll click another point here. So now I have two states between which I can interpolate. So switch over to the preview option here and then go and left click and drag on this gray space and see that your avatar kind of interpolates from one pose to another. And that is just very, very cool. And you can do that not just with two states, you can also do it with multiple. So if you wanted to maybe grab some from the other pack, like here, if we go back to the Good Vibes pack, let's go and use this one here. Dial that one in on her. And then, you know, she does this. That's cool. I'll go back over to the edit mode here and maybe put another point here, just anywhere really. And then we'll have something like this one. Let that take, perfect, and then I'll put that one over here. So now I have four poses between which I can interpolate. Namely, when I go back to preview, I can go and do that. Left click and drag, and I can see what these poses would look like interpolated. And you'll see she doesn't just do the expression, she also does movements. So if you put different movements on any of these points, then you can literally just go and animate between these things. And that will make for serious fun. Change environment. Okay, yeah, so that's a good point. Let's talk about that next. If I give her this expression, and if you are not happy with the green background, for example, then lighting works very similar to the expressions as well as hair and clothing. You can change everything about that. So in this case, the lighting is created with HDRI. So on the Render Settings tab under Environment, I can see where that comes from. So this here, if I hover over that, this is where that green map is, and that gives me that green light. But I don't have to use it. I can also go and use something else. We're probably not gonna have enough time for me to go into how you set up these things from scratch. But if you're not happy with this, look into one-click lighting products by both our very own Cole Jackson here, as well as Cake One. They both make excellent one-click lighting products. And they will literally, with one single click, change the whole mood and look and feel of your scene. So if I'm kind of happy with the expression, I'll go over to my smart content, where I have a couple installed here. Let me see. I think under lights. It's not under lights. It's under somewhere else. Render settings. There we go. I've got these three products here that will help me there. I've got the Click and Render Pop Edition by Cake One, and this is actually what's been used to create the different colored backgrounds and the really strong lighting there with a good separation in there. So if I go in here, you can get that from the Daz store as well. I can go and just change my look and feel. So these are all previews here. Maybe I want something more neutral. Double click that. It takes a second for Daz Studio to process it. There's this little orange bar at the bottom right-hand corner there. So that's it loading in the HDRI, and that'll then, the HDRI is the thing that creates the lighting for our scene. It's technically a sphere on the outside of our scene from which light from all angles is being projected in. There we go. That's what that looks like now. So with a bit of mauve, I'll go and switch this over to my, whoops, no, not to filament. We're already in filament. Let's go switch this over to Iray. That'll always take a little bit of time, but then you'll see the very accurate result that you've been looking for, including the two cameras that you can switch between. Click and Render Pop Edition. The 20th Anniversary Edition is very good as well. Here, the vignette, I think, is a little bit strong. That's something that's done on the Tone Mapper. Let me just go take that down. So it's something I tend to do that in post-production. Vignetting here, 100. If I make that, put that to 20, then I see less vignetting around the character. So this looks very different now. But, you know, if you're not happy with that, you can go and keep going, maybe with something red. They're the same color here, but the light is coming from different directions. So if I go and use the red now here, I can see that there's kind of a small shadow on the right, and the light's coming from, sorry, on the left, and the shadow's coming from the right. But if you go and use this, then the lighting direction might change a little bit. And there's just endless combinations. So this is how you change the background color. I strongly suggest to use like a one-click product like this. If you want to do this in post-production, if you're familiar with Photoshop or any of the other 2D manipulation softwares, then you can head over to the Render Settings tab, and under Environment, you can switch the background off. So that's this thing here, Draw Dome. Since these are all done with environment lights, you can make that transparent, and then you can render out the picture and just save it as a transparent image, so that with the characters on, but anything that's red now is going to be transparent. Let me show you that again. That's on the Render Settings tab here. Under Environment, there's this option Draw Dome at the very top here. And if I go and disable that, then I can see my character is still there and the lighting is still as it was, but the background that's now gray will be rendered transparent. So you can put anything and everything you like behind it. A photo that you've taken in the road, for example, or your favorite background, you know, anything and everything. You can then superimpose this character on something like an existing scene, maybe like from a game, screenshot of a game that you've taken, family photo where you and your NFP are together. Who knows? One of those things. Yoshi, no worries. Good to see you. Lovely. Anniversary edition was a very good pick. Yes, well done. Well done for doing that. Let's go and have a look at a few other lighting options here. There's one with a gray background. That's also very nice. It really emphasizes your character. And it also then kind of that plays into color composition, what works best with your outfit. So like this works really well with her, I'm thinking. You can also change the intensity of the light. That's another thing you can do on the Render Settings tab. That would be the environment intensity here. That's currently set to 1. 0 would be complete blackness, and just to demonstrate. And then 0.5 like black, as I said. And then 0.5 would be half as bright as it is right now. And then 2 would be twice as bright. So if you wanted to have something brighter, you can do something like that. But then, you know, careful, her skin tones are easily going to be washed out. I'll leave it on 1. And I might stick with the dark gray background here because that's just, you know, that's kind of nice. We talked about expressions. We talked about lighting. Let's talk a little bit more about we talked about poses. Let's talk a little bit more about the outfits. What happens if we wanted to, just in the filament preview, I'll need to use my filament draw options node to make that a little bit lighter again. There we go. So let's talk about clothing. So somebody whom I've, when I showed this, this avatar here, let's see, where was that again? Didn't I have that open? When I posted that on Twitter, somebody said immediately, "Oh my God, that outfit is amazing. My avatar needs that in her life." I thought that was very funny. This is what I've posted here. So the same green background. And this is the first time they got to see what she's actually wearing. And they were very, very excited about the backpack. And the backpack is part of the outfit, like the boots and the skirt and the top that she's wearing, and we can change that. Same with the hair. So I don't know if I have this hair product. Usually when you buy a product from the Daz store, it comes with different color variations. So this outfit would come in 2 or 3 outfit variations, like a different color jacket, different color backpack. I think this one, there's a separate texture pack available that you can also get, the Ronaldo outfit. But if I wanted her to wear something else, so in the case of the fan of this outfit, he would have gone and just bought that, and then he can go and put that on her. Let me see what else is in my library, and then I can go and give her something else to wear. That'll be interesting. So that's on the Smart Content tab here under Wardrobe. Maybe there's this outfit. There's the Hepburn style dress. Maybe I'll let her have that. There's also the several trending fashion outfits, a different kind of dress, and some jeans. I might give her that, actually. Some funky trousers, different skirts, business suit, full tactical outfit here. I don't know, anything springing out here. There's bikinis, of course. This one's nice. Stealth Siren. That'll work. That'll work really well. I might use that, Stealth Siren. If there's anything else, Banana Suit we can use. If there's anything else that springs out, just let me know. So kind of a space suit here. That is also possible with the bubble here on the top. That might interfere with the hair. Let me use Stealth Siren for now. NFP Haru. NFP stands for Non-Fungible People. It's a collection, NFT collection by Daz 3D, the first NFT collection by Daz 3D. You can find out more on the official NFP website, which is nfp.daz3d.com. You can find out, this is frequently asked questions, partnerships, roadmap. You can find out what it is. It's essentially a randomly generated collection of 8,888 female and non-binary characters that look pretty much like this, but unlike regular NFT collections that are so popular these days, Daz not only give you a 2D image, Daz give you the 3D assets that you can use for other things. You can dress them up, you can change the hair, you can change the expression, change the background color and all that. You can even go as far as using these for live animations inside something like Unreal Engine. We'll talk about that in a forthcoming stream. The costume on the left, which one is that, Yoshi? Oh, that's what you're making for the contest. Oh, I see. So there's, of course, a problem. Because we're on YouTube, I'm not allowed to show nudity. So I can either turn the character around, or I can do a trick that'll look a little bit weird, and that is by just applying the outfit again on the character. Usually you'd use this on a nude figure, but I can, of course, apply two different outfits onto the character at the same time. It's going to look weird, but I can then go, once she's dressed in both, I can go and take the first outfit off, or just make it invisible. Let Daz Studio work on this for a little bit, and then we'll see that she gets redressed. Yeah, that's two outfits overlapping. Don't worry about that. We can go and the Korean Idol hair, we might just go get rid of the hair for a second. Ronaldo outfit, I'll just make these invisible with these little eyeball icons here so that we can bring them back. She can't even wear the Ronaldo backpack with the new outfit if you wanted to mix and match that. That'll work. The siren boots we need to keep, and that's pretty much it. There's something else. Ronaldo backpack, does that? No, there's this here. What is that? The Ronaldo belt. Oh, that's a smart prop. That's somewhere in here, so I'll go and have to switch that off inside that. There. So now we have her wearing a different costume, and maybe now the dark background doesn't actually work that well anymore. Let me give you your hair back, sweetie, which was the Korean Idol hair. There we go. We'll change the hair in a moment. Maybe give her different expression. So go switch back to the NFP, go back to my Puppeteer tab where I have a few other expressions lined up, so I can go and, you know, make her I have a different expression now. And then, just for fun, I'll go and switch this over to Iray so that we can see a bit of a better representation of what this is, what the final render is going to look like. The backpack is called, as part of the Ronaldo outfit, Yoshi. It's very cool. I don't have it, so it's one of the questions that I had. How will Daz handle this thing about giving us an NFP character with these assets? Will I be able to use the assets on other figures? How does that work? The easiest way to do this and to have full functionality is literally to buy the asset from the store. So usually you get to see what outfit an NFP is wearing, even if you don't own it. So let me show you how that works. That's a different outfit now, which is great. And you can kit bash, put, you know, handbags from this and trousers from that and a skirt from another, and it's very, very cool. This is why we all obsessed with Daz Studio. Us Daz 3D users, that is why we're so obsessed, because you can do everything. Let me show you how this works. If I go to my dashboard here, and I will go, say, to this character here, and I'll go to the listing of that character on OpenSea, then this listing is showing me the rarity and the attributes of this item. So here we just see the picture. At the bottom here under properties, I can see what the character is called, Imari. The background is purple, expression is smile with the mouth open, and so forth. Eye color, hair style. So if you're interested in this hair, then you just look for this on the Daz store, the Bula, I suppose you pronounce it. Outfit is from Young Minto. I actually have that. So yeah, this is what you do. You go and say, hey, this outfit looks rad. I wanna buy it. You just have a look at the properties and have a look for what outfit that is, and then you head over to the Daz 3D website here, and then in my case that was the Bula hair, wasn't it? Or Young Minto, in fact. That was the outfit. So you type in Young Minto, and you search for her. I believe I already have her, so I would need to disable this. If you already have something, it might not show up. So if I hide items, and nothing or unrelated results would have come up. So make sure that is unticked. And then you see that the Young Minto product is available here. Currently only $6.59, which is not so bad. And it comes, in this case, it's a really, really big product. It requires a couple of other products here, as it says, but it contains the character as well as the outfit for the character. And this is then what you can put on your NFP. And this is how you can find out, look, this is the jumper that my NFP is wearing. That's how you can find out what item another NFP wears. So if you find somebody who has a really cool NFP and you think, oh man, I could really do with those glasses, then you know, where are they from? That's something you can do. Yes, good point. Make sure you spell it right. That is very good. That's a very good point. So we've changed her outfit. Maybe we want to change her outfit again to something else. No, actually, let's leave her outfit. Let's change her hair into something different. So for the hair behaves the same way as the outfits. You select the character in question, and just in this case we can just go and make her hair invisible, or you can also go and select the item and then delete the hair. You can do that as well. That's possible. So now she's bald. Make sure you select the character onto which you want to fit hair, and then head over to the hair section, and it'll depend on what items you have installed here for your hair. Maybe Madeline Tails will work well from Out of Touch. That'll work well. This is a kind of a toon hair. This is one with a hat. This is also by Out of Touch, 2021-13 hair. Let's do that. That's cool. Double click. So this is hair with a hat. So maybe that's a better look for her in this outfit, perhaps. Yes, it is kind of creepy. I totally agree, Nate. It is kind of creepy. But as you work with 3D figures, you get used to it. But it is kind of, it's just a very different look for these figures. So if you're wondering about my system, I get this question all the time. What system do you have, Jay? I'm using one with two 2080 GPUs, two RTX 2080 GPUs. And Iray is, you know, it takes a little bit of time. So I'm kind of used to working in the filament preview, but this just looks so much nicer. So with both clothing as well as hair products, there's another thing I wanted to bring to your attention, that you can usually change the color of the outfits. So I don't know if it's true for my Stealth Siren outfit. I haven't looked, but for the hair, currently I'm thinking maybe kind of the strawberry blonde, that's not a good look for her. So if I wanted to change that, I can go and select the hair, either by hovering over the hair, then right-clicking, and then selecting the hair from here. That'll select it inside the scene tab, or you can just go look at your scene and pick the item that you want to change from there. That's important. If you still have the character selected and you apply a different material on a thing that you've got that you want, and it doesn't happen, then it's probably because you haven't selected the correct item. So in my case, select that hair, and then head over here in the Smart Content tab to materials of that particular product. And under Iray we have a lot of hair cap color. So if I wanted to have her wearing like a purple kind of cap, I can do that. Takes a second. I'm not sure if purple is a good look for it. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. I don't know. You can do all kinds of things. Maybe a yellow cap. So that changes the cap color. But then further down here, we have different hair colors that you can switch to, and also different styles of hair. So if I'm thinking maybe I wanted her to be a brunette, then I can go and try something like this. Double click that. And that'll now turn her into a brunette with a yellow cap. Mr. Jeremy, how's it going? Oh, G-Man, how can you modify an existing clothing item? That is really a question for content creators. You can do fit adjustments. But if you wanted to have, if you have a long sleeve shirt and you wanted to turn this into a short sleeve shirt, that will be a little bit too much for this stream. But there are external tools that you can use, something like Blender, ZBrush, or even Hexagon, and as well as Marvelous Designer. Those things let you create your own clothing items if you're interested in that. And if you're really good at that, you can even sell them on the Daz store. No worries, Nancy. Thank you so much for dropping by. No, Jeff, that's a really good question. No, if I were to sell this NFP, my buyer would get the same assets that I got. So it'll essentially disappear from my dashboard here. So if I sell her, then she would disappear from my dashboard. And if you were to buy her, then she would appear in your dashboard and you would get the same files that I got, basically like how she looks in this photo here, and with all the attributes that it says on the OpenSea or Rarible listing. And so any configurations, any customizations that you make, they're entirely your own. You can even create your own NFT collections from the 2D picture. So I could now go ahead and use her and create my own collection of 100 different variations of her, and then sell the 2D image as NFTs from that. That is allowed. That's allowed and encouraged. Very good. You can even sell your animations with her. What I would not be able to do, and this is what only Daz can do, is to offer 3D assets with my NFT. I could not do that. So in this case, the NFP, if I were to sell this, then it would contain the base assets that I've shown you in the beginning. I can create my own NFT collection from various things and then sell the 2D pictures. I can use them commercially, both for NFTs as well as for book covers, sequential stories, and that sort of thing. But I cannot include 3D assets. So me now having made a change with a different hair and a different outfit and all that, I would not be able to include those in an NFT that I've made as 3D assets. What I can do is I can maybe give away the scene file that would reference those things, and I can tell people, hey, if you want to use this and recreate this, then I can show you exactly the products that you need to buy from the Daz store in order to make that possible. But I will not be allowed to redistribute them. I've just answered that well, Happy. Okay, cool. Yes, but all that is possible. So literally just like with this figure, I could load in a monster. I could load in a man. I could load in a car. I could do so many things. And this is kind of what makes this so super exciting. So if I wanted her to wear a mustache, I could look and find a mustache. If I wanted to change her appearance, I can blend a different character. And let me show you that. That's actually very cool. Let me do that. Let's go back to filament preview so that it looks a little bit different here. I might go and use a slightly lighter background because the dark is just a bit dark, isn't it? Let's go and change that light once again. Maybe do something like this here. Let's do that. It takes Daz Studio a second to switch out the background color there. And while that happens, I'm going to go over to the parameters tab, and with my NFT selected, I can go over to the actors tab here, and I can go over to full body, and I can maybe mess with her body shape a little bit. So if I'm thinking I want her to be a little bit shorter, a bit stockier, more like a teen, more like an elderly lady, I can do that. So let's see, Edie, that's a good idea. If I go and give her the Edie body, then she has considerably changed now. It's difficult to see with the dark outfit, but the body shape is now completely different. Alt left click on a slider to undo that. You cannot just change the, like Latonia here. That's a big change. If I go and dial that up, then she gets a little fuller. You can even change the skin color. We can look into that as well. Not only can you change the whole body, you can also change attributes about the body. So if you wanted her to have longer fingers or whatever, that is possible. Mrs. Chow body, that's cool. So Mrs. Chow is like an elderly Asian lady. So you can do that. So the body proportions completely change. There's also dwarfs that you can get. It's fascinating. Maybe Olympia, turn into an Olympia body. So you can change all that, and this is due to the magic of morph targets. That's something, if you're not familiar with 3D, that is something in which you have this geometry and you change that in an external editor and hammer and chisel away, like Corm does this a lot, that he hammers and chisels away and gives the character a different body shape, and then you bring that geometry in as a morph slider, as a delta essentially, and that lets Daz Studio modify the base geometry in Genesis and then just change the body shape without having to, and then she's back, without having to ruin anything like materials or the rigging, which is often the problem if you bring in external geometry. We can do the same to the head. Let me go and do that. If I go and zoom in on her head, it might be difficult to see with the expression, but if I go and instead of here full body, I'll go to head. People, that'll let me dial in other people. So this here is currently the Milawa head. So Milawa is a custom character that you can buy from the Daz store, and that'll turn the body shape and the head shape into what we're currently seeing. But I can also undo that if I wanted to. So now her face changes from this into that. So different face. I can also go and put a different face on completely, like Mabel head. Elderly lady, look at that. Completely different. Kind of a shapeshifter. Jinx, completely different. And the funky thing is, you don't just have to use one person. You can mix and match multiple and build your own dream character from that. So if you find that your NFP has a nose that's too big or too small, you can change that. There's several tools on the Daz store that'll let you do that. Mrs. Chow here. This is Mrs. Chow's head. Look at that, completely different. G3PO Epic is correct. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me go and pour myself another cup of coffee. Kevin, yes, just like Ascania said, this is a null is essentially an invisible node object in Daz Studio. And sometimes it is nice to have that and group something like your figure underneath that together. I'm going to go and remove Mrs. Chow's head. Maybe bring in Olympia's head. Different NFP altogether. So this is the character here. And if you bring in your own characters here from the smart content or whatnot, then you usually have something like the Genesis 8 figure, underneath which you usually have clothing parented. But sometimes it can happen that you need an additional item that you want to have in your scene, but you don't want it parented to your character. And I suppose they group this together as a null because now you can just move the null and everything underneath the null will move together. So if she had something like a football, imagine she's a football player and she would balance a ball on her foot. You can parent that to the figure, but you don't have to. You can go and parent that to something else, and then it'll just be part of the scene. And by keeping it together, I suppose the other cool thing is that you can now go and click that eyeball icon here, control click to make the whole figure invisible. Now she's gone. And that means everything underneath this is now made invisible. Control click. Regular click just makes this node invisible, but control click on that will make everything invisible. Or turn it, back visible, including our second outfit now. So we go and have two hairs now. I should have maybe taken that out. Let me just go and remove the hair, the Ronaldo boots, and the backpack. So I'll go and take all that away. There. Stealth Siren. Do we want for her to wear something different or try out a different hair? Or is there anything else we want to talk about? We talked about hair, posing, and that all of that is possible in Daz Studio. Maybe I'll go and get rid of her completely and we'll look at a different avatar. How's that? Let's do that. I'm not going to save my scene. You get the picture. That cute elderly Asian lady last week, it could be Mrs. Chow. Skin change, I will do that. Yes, X201, I will totally do that. Thank you for reminding me. Let's try her out here. She has, I think she has cat ears. Cat ears here. NFP 4126. Let's go and open her up. See what she looks like. Yeah, so Mrs. Chow, I know her, she's an elderly lady, and there's also Mabel, of course, and there's another one. What was her name again? I have her as well. It's good to have all these things. Ascania, very funny. Nita is good. She is an elderly black lady. She's nice. It's not me, man. It's Daz Studio. It focuses on the cleavage. Very funny. Edith, that's her, exactly. Edith is the other one, Camilla, absolutely. You don't see Korean Idol here on the store. Oh, mine was just called Korean Idol. Let's have a look. If I go here and then go to the OpenSea listing, let me see if I can find it. Korean Idol. Oh, it's very rare. 0.26% have that. Ronaldo outfit, 0.27%. Super rare. Very cool. Let me see if I can find it. It's probably from the Quota bundle. Could that be? Idle hair. That's a good question. Because she's wearing this as well. Kiko is wearing that. This is another way to figure out what assets are like. Often, if you look at a product, so Kiko is the figure. This is what this current avatar is based on. She has cat ears, optional. Then you will find lots of promo images. She has a tail as well, which is awesome. At the bottom here, you can see which bundles this product is in. And sometimes you also see that these items have been used in the promo render. So I don't find that here. I'm sure we're going to find out where the Korean Idol hair comes from. If we can't find it via the Daz website, I will totally have a look. Ask on the NFP server. They'll give you an answer, I'm sure. ED, not Edith. You're absolutely right. Well, there we go. This is very bright and also very green. Let me go and turn my filament draw options node down. And maybe even change the light. Here's a default camera, so with Iray. That's going to look just like the NFP. And maybe we're going to go and start by changing the background. Maybe I'm not entirely happy with the mint green here, and I'm thinking maybe something like a slightly darker blue might be better. Something like this maybe. I like it. Or maybe something like a purple. I'm kind of a purple guy, I gotta say. There. This here is also part of the what's it called? HDRI. If you wanted to change that, you can go and turn the globe around with the globe's Y rotation. So maybe just dome rotation, maybe not much, but maybe like 30 degrees away. There we go. Blip in the back, totally removed. So we can do, let's do the same with the expressions that we did earlier and give her a couple of expressions. And then we're going to go and change the skin color. I like that. And also the outfit. Maybe we'll give her a different outfit. She does have the tail attached, so it's definitely a cat character. Expression. So puppeteer. I'll go and put this expression on here. That's her current expression. And I'll go over to, first of all, select my character rather than the null. See, if you don't select that, then other options come up here. And I might go and use the good vibes expressions here. And I'll say maybe this is a nice expression for her. Blue methane flame back, Joseph. I like it. I like it. There, that's a different, very different look for her. So maybe we'll go and use that on Puppeteer. There, let's put that in. Maybe one more. Maybe this one. I had set the other point on the null, not on this, so that was obviously not so good. Then we can now go and interpolate between these two. If you wanted to make the eyes look at different options, there's another tool for that. That's the Power Pose tool, just so that you've heard of it. That's another thing that you can dock here under Window Panes. Have a look at Power Pose. That's really powerful because you can go and literally turn her whole head into different directions, like so. That is very cool. You can also go and select the head itself and then go and just move the eyes. So you can, you can do all that, which is very, very cool. This is all knowledge that'll come to you as you play more with Daz Studio. There's actually, I'm currently in the middle of recording a really large series I call the Daz Studio Masterclass, in which I'll explain all these nooks and crannies, so that if you want to get started with this, you're going to get a big leg up on how to create portrait renders and your own NFT collections should you want to. That's coming out in a month or two. I'm still working on it. There's 3 parts. The second part is nearly finished. Part 1 is done. Part 2 is nearly finished. And then I'm on to part 3. I'm hoping to have it wrapped up by the beginning of April. Fingers crossed. Kevin, when you're rendering, why is your GPU only 5% and my CPU 98%? Shouldn't I render mostly with the GPU? You're absolutely right. That is absolutely correct. On render settings here, if you encounter that problem under render settings, have a look at the advanced tab. That's a very good question, Kevin. You might want to disable your CPUs completely. So I've done that. This is the version we're using. This is for the photoreal mode, and this is for the interactive mode. We're usually using the photoreal mode here. I have my CPU disabled here because on my system, the CPU does make it a little faster to render, but if I render with the CPU and the GPUs together, it'll make only a minimal speed improvement and a big heat disprovement in my living room. So I usually leave it off because my GPUs are just better than my CPU. What might happen if you render and your scene doesn't fit into your GPU, then there's another thing that's enabled by default at the bottom here, and that's called the CPU fallback. So the way rendering in Iray works is that everything in your scene needs to be sent to the GPU. The GPU then goes and renders it and makes the picture happen, and then that's what happens. But if the content that is in your scene doesn't fit into your GPU's VRAM, then Daz Studio usually says, well, rather than give you a black picture and not work at all, I'm going to rather use the CPU because it doesn't have that limitation. It can use your whole system RAM. But of course, your CPU is usually much slower to render. So make sure you switch that off here, CPU fallback. Then you have to restart Daz Studio, and then make sure that on the photoreal mode, I might as well also switch the all interactive mode and just disable your CPU and enable your GPU or your GPUs here. Very important. Excellent, Mohan. Good to know. It's one of those things, you just got to know about it. I think the default will include the CPU, but that's not often the best course of action. So yeah, I tend to, it'll kind of depend on what your system is. If your GPU is slower than your CPU, then of course render with your CPU. But it's one of those things. Outfit and skin tone. Let's go do that. We've got the expression, we've got the poses. I'm going to dispense with the pose here, so she's just going to be in an A pose here. But for an outfit change, let's do that just so that we can see the skin change. I'm going to go and give her a bikini. That is nice, something very skimpy. Perhaps the palm bikini for Genesis 8 by Out of Touch. I'm not sure if that's actually available for sale still. Let's go and double click that. That'll apply that on top of everything else that she's currently wearing, which we probably don't want. But as soon as it's there, so she's essentially now wearing the bikini underneath it, I think. Let's go and see if that's correct. Yes, absolutely. So go to leave the hair, the tail. If you don't want to see the tail is also a prop. You can just go and disable that. Then there is the eyebrows. I'll leave the tear duct. That's all going to remain intact. The heels I might go and remove. Karu top, and there's the palm bikini. She's also wearing some attachments here. I don't really know what they are. Button. They are smart propped here, so I'm going to go and, are they not? I don't know. Oh, okay, that is there's a lot of buttons. I'll go and control click those. That'll get rid of all the buttons. They're part of the outfit. And then we've got something else here. Right click, select button top. That doesn't even show up. I don't see the button. Interesting. Oh, there it is. Totally. No, that's a different button. Where's this button? Can't see the button. Let's look for it. Is that a button? Is there anything else? Button in there? No. Crazy. In the null. Is this the top or the bottom part here? I have a feeling there's probably a spurious button here somewhere. There we go. Got it. All the buttons disappeared. So she is white Caucasian, but the other thing, thank you for bringing that up, X201, or was it Ascania? I can't remember now. We can change the lady's skin color. So if we wanted to turn her into something darker, that is a material preset. And then with this option selected here, filter by context, anything that you select here will auto filter out what is being shown here. So if we wanted to use this texture here, Shah by Combe Jackson, we can go and open her up and just go and apply this skin material and watch what happens to literally, especially her face. So she'll have a lot of freckles. This tattoo is probably going to disappear. Double click that. And this is now going to make Daz Studio apply a completely new skin shader everywhere. And this is going to change the look and feel of your character completely. So now she has freckles. Very cool. But just like that, I can also go and change her eye color. So that is also an option. So if I had different versions of eye colors here, I could put these ones on, or I can put maybe slightly brown ones on or green ones. You can change all these attributes. Like this one character that I have shown you here before in my dashboard here, this one here, 610, she has these orange glowy eyes. This is the character that I've used for the thumbnail of this stream. So very cool. I don't even have those eyes, but my NFP has them included. So I'm going to have to dig and see what they are and then buy that product, because that's certainly going to come in handy. But if you're not into white Caucasian, maybe we're going to go with something, you know, more like Latin. Let's do that. Jinx Jones. She was an 8.1 character, so that should work. Might even take a little bit longer this time. Thankfully, Jay has not saved anything, so there we go. Darker skin tone. Lots of blemishes here. So this is kind of, I think, why we all love Daz Studio, because the possibilities are just endless. You can create your dream characters and just keep going and just keep losing yourself. I'm one of those people, I'm one of those guys who is very unproductive with Daz Studio. I hang around in it a lot, but I often don't come up with something on the output here. Let's see, do we have this here? Rosa Maria is a fairly new character. Let me go and load her skin, because she comes with a really, really cool makeup option that is just out of this world as well. I think, and don't quote me on it, I think maybe Jessai made her. Look at that. This is also a makeup option that you'll see on some of the NFPs. Is that rad or what? Super rad. I have a couple of others. This has just got Jessai's handwriting all over it. It's just a Daz original on the store. This is Rosa Maria. I think she might have made the makeup, because she has a couple of other characters that is just so cool. Let me have a look while she's looking at us. Let me have a look at some of the audience questions here. Camilla, I have obviously answered that already. This is really cool. So my mods, they tick things off as I answer them. That's very good. Kevin, how can I use a clothing, purse, hair, tattoo, or other extras on one of my 4 NFPs on another NFP that doesn't have it right now? That's a good question. So the easiest thing to do there, Kevin, is to just figure out what the item is and buy that. So if I had this hair, for example, I don't own this hair, but I can have a look what the hair is called. So I can go and right click on it and say it's called the Katie hair. And then I'll go over to the Daz store and see if I can find the Katie hair. There it is, Katie Hair, perfect. 67% off, I love it. Let's go and buy it already. And then this is Aprilish hair. Yes, absolutely, go buy that. Good idea, good idea. So once you add it to your cart, check out and install it in Install Manager, it'll just show up as an option to be used. So if currently I don't have it, but if I had fallen in love with a different hair, then once you install that, you select your avatar up here, head over to the hair section, and then you find your hair there, like in this case the Katie hair, and then you double click on it and then you just use it on the NFP that doesn't have it. So in this case, I don't know if the cat hairs are going to work, but if I go and select my Katie hair here, here it is. I'm going to just go and make it invisible. That looks weird. I agree, and I'll use the Madeline tails instead. Then this is how it would work in your case. So that's the easiest and cleanest option. Buy the asset and be done with it, because then you also get the other material options and all that. And there we go. Now she has different hair. With the cat ears, you know, this hair might just not work that well. But that's how it would work. With the product, you then get all the color options that come with the product. You don't necessarily get that with the one that comes with the NFP. So if I were the other option, and this is kind of the one I don't really recommend you do that, but just know it is possible that if you select the hair or the other, like a clothing item or whatever, you can go ahead and save it as a support asset, like a figure prop asset. Then you can save that out and then you can load that up again on another character. I would recommend when you do this, create your own empty library, like we have done this here with the NFPs. I could go and just go and put this in here. Actually, figure prop asset doesn't come up here, but so you have to do it from File, Save As, Support Asset, figure prop asset, and then save that hair out and then load a different figure in and load that hair from that location back into your new avatar. I hope that explains it. Eric, will there be a way for 3D character creators to sell their own characters as NFPs? Oh yeah, I've already answered that. Good point. How can I update to 8.1? Danelle, very good question. That is part of the install manager. So when you go to the front here and you see an update, like in my case, just to show you this principle, if I go to public build here, it'll show me that there's a product update for one of my other installations here. If you see something like product updates, just go and click that and hit start queue, and then install manager will take care of this so that everything gets updated for you. 8.1 is a variation on the 8.0 character, and if you've updated the default assets, so if I go and type in default, I should have the default resources for Daz Studio. Then as long as this is up to date, you have everything that it takes to run 8.1 characters. So this is how you get access to the 8.1 figure, the base figure, which in the smart content, if I just go and quickly show you that, under figures, that's this one here, the Genesis 8 Starter Essentials. If you go into that under figures, you can see that there's a 8 base female, 8 base male, and there's also an 8.1 base female, 8.1 base male. As long as you have that, then, and you don't have any updates showing, then you're ready to rock with 8.1 characters. Juman, yes, can I modify an existing clothing item? Good question, but it'll be too much to pack into this. Essentially, you can. So I could go ahead and take this bikini here, for example, and just select the bottom row in an external editor and just pull that down so that this trim gets a little bit wider. You could do something like that. You can go and make the straps thinner or wider. You can add additional material zones. So external tools like Hexagon and Blender and ZBrush will let you do that. And it requires you to look into vertex modeling a little bit, as well as sculpting probably. Liching, you got a 2 GB video card. That is no to run this program, right? No, it'll work actually. A 2 GB. It kind of depends what the card is. So the Iray version here, that if we go and switch this over to the default camera, I'm really kind of proud of this makeup here. I really like that. Very cool. If I go and switch this over to Iray, this is a process, this rendering process that's provided by NVIDIA essentially, and hence it only currently works with NVIDIA graphics cards. As long as you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you have a strong chance that you'll be able to run it. But if it only has 2 gigabytes, it sounds like it's probably an older NVIDIA card, if it is an NVIDIA card at all. If you don't have one, if you're on a Mac or if you have an AMD graphics card or a built-in Intel graphics card, then you can still render with the CPU, but it'll take considerably longer. So if I were to show you this, you've just seen what happens if I switch this over to Iray here, because I've got my GPU selected. Let me go over to the render settings tab and just switch these off and just enable my CPU now, and then switch over, and I'll just show you the difference. So full disclosure, my system is relatively beefy. I have a dual Xeon CPU on my system that has about 40 cores. Granted, they're a little bit older, a few years old, but it'll take considerably longer to get rid of all the grain. It will happen eventually, but it is more efficient to render with the GPU. So if you're okay with that performance hit, you'll still be able to use your underspec system, and go ahead and save up for a good graphics card, RTX 3070, 3080, something like that. Eight 8.1 features, Lena, are not backwards compatible. Things are forward compatible, so 8.0 clothing will work on 8.1. Genesis 3 clothing will work on 8.1. Genesis 2 clothing will work with AutoFit on 8.1, but there's no backward compatibility. If something is meant for Genesis 8.1, then there's really no backward compatibility, I'm afraid. Weld happy. So we can't use them as stems to make and release our own NFPs. That is correct. I mean, you can use, so if I had made this here, you can use this. I'm going to go and switch over to my GPU again. I think the denoiser isn't happy with the CPU. So I'll go and switch this back, and just a little speed comparison. Just do this on the GPU again. I can use this picture and sell that as one NFT. So I can put it on the blockchain and say 5 ETH. If you want to buy it, have it. But that will only contain the picture, the 2D output. This is usually what NFT collections are all about. Pictures, 2D assets. Sometimes they contain unlockables. Sometimes they contain physical items as well. But you wouldn't be able to sell the 3D assets. You won't. This is something that you can't do full stop. You can't distribute 3D assets as they are. The only exception is if you use these assets and distribute them in a packaged product like a video game. So if you wanted to use anything that you buy from the Daz store and you wanted to turn this into your video game, then you have to include the 3D geometry with your Unreal Engine project or your Unity project, because that's the only way for Unreal Engine to display the character from all sides. So your client needs the 3D assets, but they're not distributed in a form that they are easily reverse engineerable. So a Daz product from the store is meant to be used inside Daz Studio. You can then go dress the figure up. You can even export her user in Unreal Engine, make a game out of it, and ship that as a game, for which you then need to buy the interactive license. So that's the one exception that you have. You can distribute these assets in packaged forms, and then you can go and create video games with a Daz character. So that is possible. But you cannot redistribute the assets as they are. So what Daz are doing is they're really doing that because they can. And it's wonderful that they can, because we can now go and take this and use it inside Unreal Engine with the intention that I represent myself as this avatar in something like a live stream, or like on 2D pictures or whatever. So we're allowed to do that, but we're not allowed to redistribute the assets. I hope that makes sense. There we go. I think we've talked about everything so far. Is there anything else you want to know about NFPs in regards to Daz Studio? Now's the time to ask. Otherwise, I'm going to go and say goodnight. The interactive license does not include the NFP. So I think, I'm sorry, the NFPs include the interactive license. I think, no, actually, I don't know. That's a good question, Jeff. I don't know that. I don't assume so, because the NFPs are there so that you can use the assets for personal use. You can even make money with you can commercialize on it, but you can't take your NFPs and use them in a video game and distribute that. I think for that, you'd have to look at the assets that come with your NFP, buy the interactive licenses from the store, and then you can do it. I hope that makes sense. M. Schwartz, good question. So if you are, the special thing about the NFPs is literally the collection. So the regular NFT collections, they contain a number of images that all have special traits. And so in like the ape collection, for example, you have several thousand apes. Each of them looks a little bit different, and that makes each picture look a little unique. And the more unique something is, the more desirable it is in a collection. That's kind of how it works. So Daz have done this with their NFP collection, and that's pretty standard, when compared to other collections. But what makes the NFP collection so special is they don't just give you the 2D picture, they also give you the 3D assets with which it was created, so that you can go ahead and recreate and amend it. So that's the special thing, that is not only an NFT collection, it is a collection that also contains all these exciting assets that you can then go and say, hey, this is not just a picture, I can make this character come to life, and I can use an Unreal Engine live link and go VTube streaming with that, and you can become that avatar. In the metaverse, where this is really meant for, is that you can go and be this person while you're walking around in the metaverse, and you're represented by this rather than by something that 500 other people have. You have something that's potentially unique. That's what's kind of that's what is exciting about this. Yes, actually, oh, does it, Nate? That's good to know. I didn't know this. Good to know. That's the FAQ link is literally over here on nfp.daz3d.com on the front page. Brian's going to post it in FAQs here. There we go. If it says differently, then I do apologize. I think if I were at this point where I have an NFP that I'm really happy with, and I would want to distribute her in an Unreal Engine project, I would probably go by the interactive license anyway. So it's just one of those things. Yeah, well, but that's correct. This is what I mean. So you have the rights for your own NFT to create images, videos, and use them in games. Oh, there we go. Nate had it. That's cool. So yeah, Jeff, in answer to your question, you can distribute that in Unreal Engine projects. And haha, perfect. Good to know. Well, there we go, my friends. I think that is it for me today. I'm going to try and keep it a little bit short. I've been in trouble because I've been going over and over. Like 90 minutes is just not enough sometimes. But I think today this worked out marvelously well. If you do have any other questions, then don't hesitate to put them in the comments of this video. We're going to go and leave it up, of course. And I'm going to go and put chapter points in the description as soon as the live stream is over. That should be up by tomorrow or so. Thank you so much for dropping by and watching. We will do another stream for Daz Plus subscribers in 2 weeks. We haven't decided on a subject yet, but I'm sure we're going to come up with that. I'll be back here on the Daz channel in about 4 weeks with another public live stream. We haven't decided on the topic yet, but if you'd like to see something specific, do let me know in the comments. It'll be wonderful to include that in a stream. Thanks, guys. I will be back soon with another video also on the Daz channel, explaining you more about that mysterious VDB shader that has been gracing its presence for us with Daz Studio 4.20. Have a wonderful Saturday. Don't forget, my American friends, that in the night from today into tomorrow, there's the time change. Canada and North America will observe the Shutter time change. The clocks are going to jump forward, so they're going to steal 1 hour away from us, which is just so rude. Anyway, my friends, have a wonderful night. Take care. Bye-bye.